Everybody, this is a follow-up to using frames in Adobe Photoshop. A few weeks ago, I just did a project explaining how you could use frames because I had a question from one of the subscribers and he wanted me to use shapes and how to create a shape and use it again in frames. And it created a lot of issues when people are trying to do stuff on their own. So again, this is a follow-up. I will create this for you and I'm going to show you some different strategies and techniques that you could use in using frames in Photoshop. Are we ready for this? Let's do it. Everybody, welcome back to the channel. If you're new to the channel, this is dedicated to photography and as a photo artist, pushing ourselves out of the box creatively. All right, just a few weeks ago, I did a concept using frames, and it was the result of somebody emailing me. And by the way, my private email address is right here at the bottom of the screen. It's stephenphotoartist@gmail.com. So feel free to email me privately if you wish, rather than making comments on YouTube. It's better to get my attention by sending me the private email. And again, I don't create a list. I'm not selling the list, so don't worry about that kind of stuff. Okay, so the issue was he wanted to create a custom shape and use it with frames. So I showed how to do that in that last video. So again, the link will be in the show notes. So I would recommend you go watch that. Now I'm getting questions coming back to me saying this is not working and they're not using shapes. And so let's dive into Photoshop and let's take a look at the issue and problems. Okay, so I'm going to start out here opening up a couple images. I'm going to use this film strip, not a film strip, but a slide. If you guys remember 35 millimeter slides, and that we used to use projectors. And I'm going to use this background right here and open them up. And let's just make this a little bit smaller, move it to the side here. And then I'm going to grab over here on this tab, this image, and we'll click and drag, and I'm going to drop it in there. And let's pull this back a bit. That looks a little bit too big versus the objects I see there on the table. So Control-T, Command-T on a Mac, and I'm just going to resize this a bit. So it's about probably the proper size right there. Enter on the keyboard. I'm going to do Control-J to copy that up. Command-J on a Mac. Grab my Move tool right here in the toolbar, upper left-hand corner. And I'm just going to click and drag over to the right. So we've got two copies here. Let me zoom in real big on this so we can see this. All right, now before I get into doing this, one of the things that was asked to me a few weeks ago when somebody wanted to do or do some work in frames, and there is a film strip shape that we get in Photoshop. So let me just go back here to shapes, just a quick reminder. I'll go to shapes. He wanted a custom one, and I showed how to do that right there because somewhere, if I can remember, legacy, shapes, somewhere in there we've got some, well, I thought we did. Maybe it's under all legacy shapes. Yeah, film. I'm sorry. So he just didn't care for these that were here already, and he wanted one that had 4 spots for pictures. And so I showed how to do that in that video. And just a quick thing right here, I'll grab that shape and just click and drag. The problem with shapes, you could do Enter, is it has to be a solid color. And if you try to take something like this that we see here and convert it to a shape like I did in that last video, it's just going to be a solid color. And people don't want that. They want the actual frame. So let me get rid of this and show you how you would approach this. Now, the first thing I want to do is I want to make sure I'm on the correct layer. So I'm going to start with the one on the left side right here. And what we can do is I'm going to grab the, right here in the flyout menu, the magic wand tool. And by default, it is set to contiguous. What that means is when I sample the white, I want to get rid of that white background. It just selects that area, and I'd have to hold the shift key and click in this area here because I want that inside to be done. So I'm going to undo that just to show you how this works. If I deselect contiguous and then I click in that same white area right here, anywhere it finds that white, it's going to select it. So I'm just going to choose delete because I want to clear that out. Control D, Command D on a Mac just to get rid of that. I'm going to grab my basic selection tool, the rectangle one, just to quickly click and drag over that area. Choose delete, and we'll just deselect that. So now I've got that cleared out. So here, if I focus on just that layer, this is what I'm done with right there. So now we want to add a frame, and here's what people are having an issue with. If I grab the frame tool right here, and I go over here and do a click and drag motion because I want to add a frame so I can put our photograph in that slot right there, and I let go, it does that. And they're going, what in the heck? So I'm going to undo that, Control Z, Command Z on a Mac. So that's not going to work, and that's sort of the gotcha. And the workaround was, well, I can convert this to a shape, and then this will work properly. But if I make it a shape, I'm not going to have it look like this 35 millimeter, slide. It's not going to have the description and all that kind of stuff. It's going to be a solid color, black, blue, green, yellow, whatever. It's not going to work. So here's what you do. Before you apply the frames in this area, in layers, make sure you're on the proper layer here. You're going to see a set of symbols where it says lock over here. If I go to this one right here and hover over it, it'll actually get a little preview that says prevent auto nesting into and out of artboards and frames. So I'm going to click on that. Now, when I do that right here, it adds a little lock feature. Now watch what happens when I click and drag over this area and I let go. There you go. The frames is in there. So now if you see here, this is where the frame is at. This is where we place our image. So in the contextual tab, which I have anchored at the very top here, if yours is not there, it might be floating around. If not floating around, go to Windows, come almost toward the bottom here, contextual taskbar. And again, just a quick review. I clicked and dragged mine up here. There's this thing that you can actually move it around. So if it's floating, I position it up there. And then over here in the three dots, I clicked on that and I chose to pin that to that position, so it's always there. So now that's all I have to do is choose this, import image, click on it, select an image, place, drops the image in there. I'll do Control T, Command T on a Mac, and that allows me to change the size of this within the frame, move that around to get the look I want, and enter on the keyboard to accept that. Now, with that done, excuse me, with that done, I don't have that rounded look that we see here. Excuse me. I got to grab some water here. Sorry about that. It is wintertime over here in Michigan, and it is dry. I don't like that squared off look. Let me zoom in here. So that's squared. Now, you might like that. I'm not saying that's bad or whatever, but we are supposed to have the curved look. Well, that's because the picture here is actually below in the stacking order of our layers. So if I click and drag and move that above the frames, now I've got that. Okay, so now I got what I want, maybe, sorta. So let's talk about maybe, sorta. Well, what I would like to do, by the way, this is a really cool way of showcasing your work. Instead of just, here's my picture, I want to showcase maybe a series of work and stuff like that in a very unique way. This is called a mock-up, and using frames is really cool to do it. It's just easy to add some additional images. But if I'm going to use this, say, to create something for other people to use, and I want to have some descriptive name like place image here, I don't want to do it this way. And again, it's just a choice. I'm not saying right or wrong. But if I come over here, and let me clean this up a little bit. So I'm going to grab the magic wand again, and I'm going to reactivate contiguous because that's your default setting. So if I click here, whoops, I'm on the wrong layer, Steve. Let's deselect that. Sorry about that. Make sure I'm on the right layer. Click there, and then delete on the keyboard. So now that's finished. Let me deselect that. So I'm just doing Control D or Command D to make my deselection. What I want to do is I'd like to add some curvature in here. And there's a couple different ways we can do this, by the way. One is, notice that if I grab frames, I'm going to click on the frame tool here, there's an area here for curvature, and it's set to 0 by default. So I'm going to drop in, like, I'm guessing at this 100 right there. So if I go over here and click and drag the frame in there, something's going to happen. Watch what happens, by the way, because I didn't fix something. Aha, remember that? So let me undo that. So I made a mistake. Let's go, and over here in layers, I got to protect that by clicking on that icon, put that lock in there. So now when I do this again, click and drag, you can see now I've got the curvature. The problem with using this is, well, it's the wrong shape. It's too big of a curve. And I'm going to keep guessing back and forth till I eventually get what I want. So I mean, if you get it, that's great. So that's just a technique of doing this. I'm going to get rid of that. And I'm going to change that back to 0, or just do a right mouse click right here and just choose to reset the tool so it's back to 0 right there. So here's a different technique that I really like to use. And I want to be able to keep the name place image here. So I'm going to grab the pen tool here in our toolbar. Just make sure it's a generic pen tool. Let me zoom in so we can see this. And I'm going to click right here once. Then I'm going to go over here, click and drag to the right. Notice how it's putting an arc in there for me. Click over here, click and drag down, add another arc, click there. I'm doing this pretty quick though, and then click and drag. So I got an arc there, click here, click and drag up, and then click right there to complete that. Now that I've got that all outlined the way I'd like it to be, here in the toolbar, we can choose shape. Now watch what happens when I click on shape. It does that. Now here's what's really cool. I can go to layers here, make a right mouse click and choose convert. No, let's see where we're at. I'm drawing a blank here. Convert to frame. There we go. That's what I was looking for. Boy, I need glasses. Not really, but okay. So convert to frame, and bam, it's going to let me convert this to frame. I'm going to leave the name there, shape one, but give it something descriptive. And there we go. This is what I want. I want something that's descriptive. So when somebody uses it, they see place image here. So if I'm on the layer up here and I choose import image, and let me just pull a different one here. Click on place. Drops it right in. Control T, Command T on a Mac. And I want to adjust the size. Just to reframe this a bit. Maybe make that a little bit bigger. Reframe that. And then enter on the keyboard right there. And then when I click somewhere else, you can see what a nice finish that gave me right there with that slide. And then let me pull back so we can see both these slides right there. So it doesn't matter which way you actually create this, but I'm going to share something with you that, and again, a very unique way of showcasing your work. If somebody knows how to solve a problem here, because here's what bugs me. I'm going to select these two and do Control T, Command T on a Mac, and I'm going to rotate this like this on an angle. And then maybe just position this on top right there, enter on the keyboard. Well, if I go to the other frame right here, make sure I'm on the image, not on the frame, but right here on the image. If I choose delete on my keyboard, that gets rid of the picture. And that means I can go back over here, import image, and I can drop in a different image. So again, I'm just sort of playing here. Okay, the problem I have is if I go to this image right here, and I delete that, and I come back later, I go, I need to change this. So I'm going to import a different image, like that one, click on place. It doesn't maintain the rotation for me. I have to actually do Control T, Command T on a Mac, which isn't a big deal, but boy, it'd be nice if it knew to automatically maintain that position, because in the frames here, that's maintained. It's just that when you drop an image, it always just comes in horizontal, and then you have to do the free transform to rotate that. But most of the time you might want to be resizing it anyhow. But if you do not know how to maintain that, let me know right off the bat. And then once you got this built, you could play around and say, hey, let's grab these two right here. And I'm going to do Control J, Command J on a Mac, and I got another one. Whoops, didn't want to do that. Got to get rid of my pen tool, so sorry about that. And grab my Move tool. And again, just click and drag, and I've got another set right there. So I can come up with some kind of stacking design, that kind of thing. So hopefully this makes sense. I tried to show you different techniques here. And by the way, if you're learning anything, if you could do me a favor, and that is like the video, subscribe if you have not subscribed, hit that notification bell. Next time I upload a video, you'll get notified. But again, this is a very unique way of showcasing your work. And I love using frames to do that when I do customized mockups. So again, try this technique. It solved the problem of you can work with any kind of image you want now. Remember to put in that locking feature right there, and it's this button right there on layers. So when you're working with frames, it works properly with you. All right, so with that out of the way, let's get that camera out, get some shooting going on. Let's make mistakes. Why? Because we learn from making mistakes. Until next time, remember to creatively think out of the box, and I mean literally think out of the box. Till next time, see ya.